It is the 17th day of March 2026 on The Explainer tonight.
Mtu ambaye ameenda akatia mimba mtoto mwenye hapo umri ya mtoto yake, alafu akachukua huyo mtoto akamuua, anatuambia nini?
Umeona vile ameponda mpaka masikio inafanya nini? Na bado
first of all, mimi sijui kwa nini unazumbuka vile nakula, kwa sababu mimi sikuli kwa bibi yako.
Leaders unto darkness. Day of shame as country's top leaders take an unprecedented low road.
Senior doctors, senior professionals from Nairobi hospitals approached me to save Nairobi hospital from conmen, from fraudsters, and from charlatans.
The Nairobi hospital saga. What Ruto can do and cannot do. We engage legal experts.
We facilitated the whole program, not with money, but just with social media, and to tell people that we are here for 2027 and we are getting ready.
How a young man is rallying Gen Z to register as voters. Live from Moscow, we engage Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi on recruitment of Kenyans to the Russian army. What a show we've got for you tonight on The Explainer. First off, we're talking about Kenya's investment story. What does it look like and where do some of the opportunities lie? We speak with the CEO of Invest Kenya, John Mwendwa, ahead of the Kenya International Investment Conference that's coming up in just a few days to talk about how Kenya is positioning itself for investments from around the world. That is an insightful conversation that is coming up on Power Talk. Also tonight on The Explainer, the big story involving Kenya and Russia. Is it a dangerous game of Russian roulette? We speak with Prime Cabinet Secretary in charge of Foreign Affairs, who's joining us live from Moscow, as you can see, to talk about Kenya's recruitment into the Russian military and the talks that he had with his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. That is all coming up. And of course, if you've got any questions regarding that story that's been in the headlines for the Prime Cabinet Secretary, please do send them in, and we will be posing them to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, all here on The Explainer, which starts right now.
Live from Citizen TV, this is The Explainer with Yvonne Okwara.
Njoki Shege is our sign language interpreter. Tonight we begin with one of the lowest political campaign in Kenya. The country's top leaders descended to mudslinging, name-calling, body-shaming, raw insults, and generally indecent language. President Ruto and his former deputy Gachagua led the pack in an embarrassing performance ever recorded in the history of the country's top officers. Tonight, we deliver the remarks raw and barely edited. Our political reporter, Melita Oletengis, puts on record one of Kenya's worst days in political discourse.
Out of decency and respect for the tastes of our viewers, last night we left out a soundbite that now stands as the foundation of a sharp dissent in political discourse. It started in Kiambu, where former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua had some descriptions to make.
We'll make sure, William Ruto, you are not going to sleep for the next 15 months. Utalala ukifika Sokoi. Tutakuanika na hivi vijana wangu hawa. Umeona vile amekonda mpaka masikio inafanya nini? Na bado.
President Ruto, the target of an apparent body shaming by Gachagua, picked the baton and took the low road race to the next phase.
Mtu mwenye ako na pepo ya ukabila na chuki na kisirani anatuambia nini kama Wakenya? Mtu ambaye ameenda kwa kitanda ya ndugu yake ambaye alikuwa anakufa anaenda kumanipulate will.
Rage was apparent in the president's voice, tone and manner.
You cold-blooded thief, stealing from your own brother, stealing from orphans, stealing from widows. You want to give us a lecture? Unazunguka kwa makanisa, unazunguka kwa barabara, unazunguka kwa mazishi. Ate unatuongelesha kitu gani? Mtu ambaye ameenda akatia mimba watoto wadogo kama wanarika ya mtoto wake, alafu anaenda anaua hawa watoto, alafu unatuambia mambo ya mauaji. You cold-blooded murderer, heartless character. You want to tell us, you want to mislead our nation. We will not allow you to mislead any community. We will not allow you to mislead anybody in Kenya. You are not going to be anything in this nation. You belong to the rot in jail. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Huyo mtu atembee asitembee? Apotee asipotee?
After Gachagua, President Ruto cast his muddy net wider.
Nyinyi mumekula mpaka tumbo karibu inapasuka. Mumekula mpaka kichwa imefimba na kiburi. Na nataka niwaambie, tafadhali endeni mjiangalie kwa kioo. Use the mirror. Mwende muangalie vile mmekaa. Kichwa imefimba. Tumbo ndio hiyo karibu inararua mashati. Tafuteni gym kwanza, mwende mufanye exercise kidogo. Na mpunguze kukula chakula mingi. Ndio muache kulala kwa mikutano. Hata mnaharibu hewa huko mkutano mkiwa mumelala bure kabisa.
Though he mentioned no name, President Ruto's remarks invited some reply.
First of all, mimi sijui kwa nini unasumbuka vile nakula, kwa sababu mimi sikuli kwa bibi yako. Ujaniona nikienda kutafuta chakula kwa bibi yako ama kwa watu wako. Mimi nakula ndizi kule Kisii kwetu. Sasa kama hiyo ndio inakusumbua, mbona mimi sijakuja kukuuliza wewe mbona umekonda?
Let's take you back to President Ruto, who was clearly on a roll. His next target was someone in Kitale. He did not mention names.
Iko mwingine wa kutoka hapa Kitale. Sasa hata huyo mimi sijui. Aliwachiwa kiti na ndugu yake. Akawachiwa shamba na ndugu yake. Akawachiwa watoto na ndugu yake. Ile shamba hajajenga nyumba. Bibi ni wa kukodesha. Nyumba amekodesha kwa watu. Watoto wa ndugu yake wamekufa kwa njaa. Ati saa hii anazunguka hata anajaribu kuongoza. Wewe utaongoza nani? Kwenda jenga nyumba kwanza kwako. Utafute bibi. Ununue diaper. Ujue gharama ya mbolea.
Then back to where it all started, Rigathi Gachagua.
Lakini nataka nikuambie vile nilikuambia jana, hatutakubalia wewe kuiba Nairobi Hospital. Because vile unaenda, tukikubalia uibe Nairobi Hospital, utakuja kuiba Leave Funeral Home. Na hatutaki tufike hapo. Si ndio?
So much for one of the darkest days in Kenya's political oratory. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
As the race to the 2027 general election gathers momentum, Kenya's youth are rewriting the rules of political engagement, ditching apathy for action through a bold, peer-driven push for voter registration and civic awareness on social media. Led by photojournalist Alan Ademba, hundreds of young people turned up at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission offices in Kasarani to register as voters. And as Emily Chebet reports, the youth, now targeting 15 million new voters, have vowed to take the campaign nationwide, spreading the message across all 47 counties.
What began as online frustration over poor leadership is now evolving into a grassroots movement. Young Kenyans are transforming their social circles into hubs of civic education, turning everyday spaces of congregation into what they call walk spaces focused on political awareness. This queue is a clear response to the Tuko Kadi call, signifying that they already have their voters' card in hand and are ready to drive political change in the next general election.
There are people who are here who came to transfer their votes, but it's because we facilitated the whole program, not with money, but just with social media, and to tell people that we are here for 2027 and we are getting ready. We are here to make sure that the bad regime, the bad leader, the bad politics is home, and we are going to put in new leaders, not politicians.
These social media platforms for them are no longer just for socializing. It is a deliberate effort to have numbers that can facilitate demands for accountability and cause change at the ballot.
We know what we want. We know the people we don't want in government in those offices, and that's why we are here. We are serious, and this is just a litmus test of what is to come. We are going to mobilize across the country. We are saying 15 million strong. That means 15 million young Kenyans on the ballot box, and IBC says that they're expecting at least 6.8 million. Trust you me that by end of next year, tutakuwa tumepita hiyo number. Yes. Yeah, we are going.
The Tuko Kadi campaign, led by photojournalist Alans Ademba, is putting pressure on fellow youth, with voter registration becoming an unspoken requirement within their social circles.
We started with 50. Then the registration continued. I'm talking about online registration through WhatsApp. Ikafika 200, and we said now we're expecting at least 150 out of the 200. All of a sudden it was around 400. It went to 500. Currently it's almost 600.
We want a free, fair, transparent, verifiable, credible election. We know we have the numbers, 15 million strong and counting. So there's absolutely no way a Gen Z-backed president loses to Ruto.
From hashtags to action, Kenya's Gen Z are turning digital influence into civic power, signaling a shift that could reshape the country's political future. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has defended his role as patron of Nairobi Hospital, stating that officials implicated in the hospital's management dispute and who were arrested and charged at the Milimani Law Courts on Monday will be removed from their positions. Speaking during the second day of his Western Region tour in Cheptais, Mount Elgon and Chwele in Bungoma County, the head of state vowed not to allow the hospital to be, quote, held hostage by individuals he described as fraudsters seeking to undermine its integrity and service delivery. Seth Olale reports.
A day after defending his patronage role at Nairobi Hospital, President William Ruto has now revealed he was the force behind the arrest and arraignment of Job Lukuru Obwaka, Chris Bichange Munga, Samson Mbudhi Kinanjui, and Valerie Akini Gaya at the Milimani Law Courts.
Nangoja Yesu arudi.
Addressing the crowds during the second day of his Western tour in Cheptais, Mount Elgon and Chwele in Bungoma County, the head of state said he personally ordered the arrest and prosecution of the 4 officials at the center of the Nairobi Hospital management row, signaling a hardline stance against what he termed entrenched malpractice within the institution.
I have instructed with clarity that all those who are involved in fraudulent activities in Nairobi hospitals will be removed. They will be taken to court. They will be charged.
The head of state reiterating that he was approached by a section of doctors from Nairobi Hospital seeking his intervention in his capacity as the patron amid concerns over alleged mismanagement.
As patron of Nairobi Hospital, senior doctors, senior professionals from Nairobi hospitals approached me to save Nairobi Hospital from conmen, from fraudsters, and from charlatans who wanted to expropriate Nairobi Hospital.
In defending his actions, President William Ruto vowed to safeguard and uphold the standards of Nairobi Hospital, insisting the facility's integrity will not be compromised.
There is no way I am going to allow Nairobi Hospital to be taken over, taken hostage by charlatans, by conmen, by fraudsters.
The head of state dismissing claims there is an attempt to take over the management of Nairobi Hospital by the state.
Those brainless opposition, they are just scavengers Scavenging on any headline. Oh, sijui nini Nairobi Hospital nauzwa, sijui nani anataka kununua. Wacheni ujinga.
Describing Nairobi Hospital as a public institution, President Ruto pledged to restore the facility's dignity and pride, vowing to return it to its former glory.
Nairobi Hospital is a public institution. It is an institution that serves the public of Kenya. And we are going to defend the right of Nairobi Hospital to exist. We are going to protect Nairobi Hospital.
In the statement on Monday, the president confirmed assigning head of public service CS Felix Koskei to undertake multiple consultative meetings with the aim of facilitating dialogue and encouraging resolution of the disputes affecting the Nairobi Hospital. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Now it is a battle for the soul of one of East Africa's premier health facilities. The Nairobi Hospital, long a symbol of medical excellence, is currently embroiled in an ownership and corruption saga that has now caught the attention of State House. But as the president vows to protect the Nairobi Hospital from what he terms charlatans and fraudsters, legal experts are raising the red flag. Does the president, in his capacity as patron, actually have the teeth to intervene? Brenda Wanga reports.
For decades, it has been the sanctuary of the elite and the bedrock of private healthcare in Kenya. But lately, the Nairobi Hospital has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Allegations of corruption and a high-stakes tug-of-war over its management have reached a fever pitch. Stepping into the fray, the president, speaking as a patron of the KHA-owned facility, has issued a stern warning.
There is no way I am going to allow Nairobi Hospital to be taken over, taken hostage by charlatans, by conmen, by fraudsters.
But the president's intervention in this murky affair is raising more legal questions than answers. Martin Olo, Assistant Dean at Daystar University's Faculty of Law, argues that the president's patron title carries more prestige than power. According to Olo, the Companies Act is clear. One is either a member or a director.
Because the Companies Act, as it sits, does not give a non-member any powers. Indeed, the role of the president as a patron is ceremonial.
At the heart of the dispute is the unique structure of the Kenya Hospital Association. Unlike typical private hospitals, the KHA runs the Nairobi Hospital as a non-profit entity. It doesn't have shareholders looking for dividends.
So it's not a company that trades in shares. It's not a company that makes profits. It's simply a company that actually serves charitable purposes. It makes money and it spends the money against the purposes for which it has been established.
Where the president may want to root out mismanagement, Olo warns that any direct intervention will be standing on shaky legal ground. In the eyes of the law, the president is a friend of the hospital, not its boss.
Having been invited in as a patron, can only be a friend of Nairobi Hospital. Doesn't exercise any authority. Neither would he exercise powers of the. Then I'm talking about power. He cannot exercise any powers over this company because there's no footing in the act that allows him to do that.
Instead of the hammer deployed by the president in this saga, legal scholars suggest a softer approach, stating that the president's true power may lie in diplomacy.
Let him be the patron. Not only a patron, you go in there, you sit, you listen, and you don't take side.
As the Nairobi Hospital and its board navigates these turbulent waters, it remains to be seen if the presidency and the patronage of the hospital will keep off the perceived detractors or if the matter will be resolved in the courtrooms where many other battles over the management of the hospital continue to be fought. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
A petition has been filed under a certificate of urgency at the Milimani High Court seeking to suspend the implementation of the National Infrastructure Fund Act 2026. The petitioner, Katiba Institute, wants the court to issue conservatory orders restraining the government from operationalizing the act, arguing that it is unconstitutional and was enacted in violation of key provisions of the Constitution. Led by lawyer Paul Gishana, Katiba Institute wants to stop the government from channeling proceeds from the privatization of state assets into the fund. This includes funds from the sale of shares in Kenya Pipeline Company and the Safaricom divestiture. Katiba argues that the Senate was excluded from the legislative process despite the act affecting county finances, contrary to constitutional requirements, and that Parliament's oversight role over public finances will be undermined as the fund prevents the Office of the Controller of Budget from exercising its constitutional mandate in approving and supervising expenditure. Now, chaos erupted at Gikomba Market after traders blocked government officials over a new relocation directive setting the boundary at 50 meters from the Nairobi River, up from the previous 30. The move is part of a government plan to restore the Nairobi River and build a new Gikomba Market. But traders say the expansion of the relocation zone is unclear, even as the government maintains that all those operating near the river must vacate. Willie Lusige with that report.
Government officials flanked by traders leaders arrived at Gikomba to demarcate a new 50-meter buffer zone from Nairobi River. The exercise quickly descended into chaos as a section of traders pushed back, chasing off officials and bringing the operation to an abrupt halt. Traders insist they had only consented to a 30-meter setback, with the sudden expansion to 50 meters igniting fury and stiff resistance.
Kwa hii soko yetu kusema ukweli ni soko ndogo. Soko yetu shamba yetu sio kubwa. Sasa ukichukua 50 meters itakuwa imeisha. Sisi hatuoni mwangaza na haki na kweli ya kwamba kuna soko tunatengenezewa.
At the heart of the standoff is the extra 20 meters, with the traders fearing it could open the door to a possible land grab.
Wafikishe 30 meters ndio tupate pia sisi penye tunauzia. Sasa tukiparalaiziwa sisi wote tunaenda wapi?
Government, however, maintains that the additional land will be used to build a modern new market for those affected by the relocation.
Sasa hawa nao watu wa Nairobi River Commission wakaona kweli kwamba hawa watu ni wengi sana hapa ambao tutawatoa. Tutawafanyeje na utaki mtu yote akose kazi? Ndio tukakubaliana watatujengea linear market which is back here. Changes have consequences. They don't want to let it go. And if you don't let it go, you can't get.
The county government insists that all traders within the 50-meter zone must vacate, noting that an alternative site near the market has been prepared for temporary use while the market is under construction.
They will have to be relocated because they are right on the riparian. We declared a special planning area for the Nairobi rivers, which is 60 meters in most areas and some areas 30 meters. And so there's no need for any more public participation there. It's just to do what is right, to restore the path of the water.
Division among traders here in Gikomba Market has led to this temporary shelter to continue being left vacant, but many of them still insist they are ready to move after the government constructs the new market in Gikomba. Traders have now been given a deadline until the end of March to vacate the area before demolitions commence. This comes as the demolitions continue in Grogan and Shauri Moyo following recent floods, with the government taking down structures illegally erected along river channels.
The stretch which we are working on is the 27-kilometer, part of which is on the Nairobi West sub-region side. They will have to move away from the riparian so that we don't suffer what we suffered last time.
Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, the death toll from the tragic floods in the country has risen to 71, with 3 more fatalities recorded in Nairobi, 1 in Eastern and 1 in the coast region. This comes even as the weatherman predicts intense rainfall in the next 7 days, with some areas expected to receive as high as 100 millimeters of rainfall. Gatete Njoroge reports.
2 weeks after the nation was hard hit by flash floods that left 71 people dead, over 2,600 families displaced, and properties worth billions of shillings destroyed, Kenya Meteorological Department says the country should brace for more rains. In the latest forecast covering the period between March 17th to 23rd, the weatherman says most parts of the country will experience heavy rains from Thursday, including the highlands east and west of the Rift Valley, Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, southeastern lowlands, and coast. These regions include Nairobi, Nyeri, Murang'a, Embu, Meru, Nyandarua, Nyamira, Kisii, Bomet.
For the coming 7 days, the areas that are expected to cumulatively have 100 millimeters within 7 days. So this will not be something that will be received within 1 day, like what we had with the previous advisory. It will be spread out within the 7 days.
The weatherman says though the country is experiencing intensified rainfall, the rains are expected to peak in intensity in April before tapering in May.
People should be keen on such incidences. If you see an isolated storm has happened, so clearly you're not supposed to walk in running waters or drive through running waters, or better yet, stay indoors. If you're shading under a tree and there is lightning, avoid such things and be on the lookout for such things.
Saumu says the predictions are accurate and asked Kenyans to heed their advisories.
These days we have accuracies of between 80 to 95%, in some cases 100%. So this is majorly because of the co-production that we have between us locally and internationally, and the goodwill of the government to be able to support that too. So that's why we have the improvement.
With the heavy rains expected to continue for the next 2 months, Kenyans are hopeful that the government will act with speed in putting in place measures to protect its citizens from the deluge. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now we're taking a break here on the program tonight, but the Kenya International Investment Conference is coming up. And so what a better time to take a look at Kenya's investment story and what are the expected outcomes of this International Investment Conference. We'll be speaking with the CEO of Invest Kenya, John Mwendwa. He is live here in studio with me, and we will be talking about that and, of course, indeed, what to expect and where Kenya lies in the global investment landscape. That is coming up right after this break. But later on in the program, tonight we are speaking to the Prime Cabinet Secretary in charge of Foreign Affairs. That's Musalia Mudavadi. He's joining us live from Moscow. We'll be speaking about Kenya's recruitments into the Russian military and indeed the outcome of his conversations with his Russian counterpart. Please do send in all of your questions to our discussions that are coming up right after this break here on The Explainer. Tonight, Invest Kenya CEO John Mwendwa explains how Kenya is positioning itself as a leading investment destination ahead of the Kenya International Investment Conference.
Who manages your wealth, legacy, and connects you with investment opportunities in Kenya and globally?
At Standard Chartered, family businesses, business owners, and corporate executives have entrusted us with over $2.3 billion.
As the only international bank in Kenya, we bring you global expertise and a wide range of investment solutions right here at home.
Your wealth is guided by certified relationship managers who are supported by insurance and investment specialists.
Because growing your wealth is not about chasing hype.
It's about clarity, transparency, and long-term value.
Now is your time for wealth. Join Priority Banking today.
Experience the power of the ultimate glow in our new revitalizing formula. With 3 times more oil-infused serum, Vaseline Lotions penetrates and restores your skin's natural moisture from within while boosting your natural glow on the outside. No need to add extra oils or glycerin. Feel the difference. See the power of the ultimate glow. New Vaseline Lotions.
New Pepsodent Herbal, introducing a unique combination of natural ingredients with herbal extracts, salt and mint in an antibacterial formula for fresh breath, strong teeth and healthy gums that protects you and your family. Pepsodent Herbal, every smile matters.
Kirimakia, Mount Kenya. Raha Premium Kavagara na Raha Premium Gano ndio kibuku yao. Emelok nenana lelelek yara tanali. Anela takage kana kerenja sietu. Na ukatikana kilava ndvanti ya Kenya. Igun agenge en member Kavagara Club.
Leo tupike pilau. We'll start by frying our onions, then adding our minced garlic. Once the garlic is fragrant, we'll go in with our Royco pilau masala. We'll let it fry up with the onions so that it blooms the flavor. And then we'll add in our very soft boiled meat and potatoes. Go in with Royco cubes for an extra build of flavor. Now it's time to add in your rice. Give it a good mix, then we'll add in our beef broth or hot water. Once it comes to a boil, cover and cook on low until all the water is evaporated. Just like that, our pilau is ready. Serve hot with your favorite kachumbari on the side and enjoy.
Some kids are just a step ahead. The winning difference? A spoonful of Blue Band. The only one with the right levels of omega-3 and 6. Blue Band. A spoonful of difference.
You know how the year just starts running? Then Easter comes and you realize what you really want. Time with them. Spend 3 nights at Mayan Luxury Resort with View Travel. Days become shared adventures, Easter egg hunts, and endless family moments. Here, children explore, parents reconnect, and memories last long after Easter. From 61,750 Kenyan shillings per adult sharing and 49,395 Kenyan shillings per child. This Easter, give them more than a getaway. Give them time together.
On Power Talk this week, we're speaking about Kenya's investment opportunities. This is because the country will be playing host to an international delegation of investors at the Kenya International Investment Conference from the 25th to the 27th of March. And to talk about the state of play with investments in the country, on Power Talk this week, we're speaking with the CEO of Invest Kenya, or the Kenya Investment Authority, but Invest Kenya sounds a lot better. John Wendwa, thank you very much for joining us on Power Talk this week. Just first, let's start by talking about the authority, the Kenya Investment Authority, who you are and what your mandate is.
Thank you, Yvonne. And just to begin with, Kenya Investment Authority is a parastatal in the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. And we have a broad mandate. Our mandate spans across a number of facets. The first one is really investment promotion. And by investment promotion, we promote the country as a conducive investment environment. We promote investment projects and opportunities to investors, both foreign and domestic. So that's investment promotion. Second is we do investment facilitation. And investment facilitation is really hand-holding investors across the investor journey. And the journey begins from awareness and discovery of what an investor is interested in, through the licensing and permitting ecosystem, all the way eventually to when they have, in commercial operation, what we call aftercare. So it's a journey begins in the entirety of the business cycle, and we're involved end to end. The third aspect is really about advocacy for a conducive business climate, because, investors are looking for predictability, a robust business environment, and we facilitate that by ensuring we coordinate across government with other actors to really provide an enabling environment. And of course, we do the work we do by coordinating, both at a national level and the county governments as well, so that investors really find it easy to operate on an end-to-end basis. So we operate at both levels, of course, working very closely with our counties as well.
And what are those investors looking for in Kenya?
So I think it's important to just provide some context in terms of what are really investors, not only in Kenya, but globally looking for. There are some themes globally that really dictate what investors look for. And some examples that come top of mind could be something around, for example, the geopolitical uncertainty or the geopolitics. It plays a big role in how investors think and where they would like to place their capital. The second aspect could be something around, supply chain disruptions. During COVID, there were supply chain disruptions. And when you have supply chain disruptions, you're thinking as an investor, could it be about friendshoring, locating your supply chains and your sourcing of your inputs for your production in allied areas, et cetera, et cetera. Investors are thinking about, we're now the era of digital economy and AI. That's something else. Sustainability together is another agenda. So overall, broadly, thematically speaking, that's what is driving investments around the world. But investors are looking for some succinct examples. How predictable is our business environment? How stable is our economy? Can I really have a fair balance between the risk and reward environment? Because everybody is looking for a good return. Yeah. And the risk-reward balance comes into play. So that's what investors are looking for. But capital is really, is looking for friendly environments, and there's stiff competition for capital around the world.
Yeah.
And Kenya is at the forefront, given that we're an anchor state, not only in Africa, but also in this part of the eastern seaboard, to see whether we can really be able to scoop up what's coming. And just to paint a picture, globally, in 2024, there was $1.5 trillion worth of investment around the world. 400 plus billion came out of the Far East, 600 billion plus came out of the European side of things. In North America, just under $230 billion. What came to Africa was just under $100 billion. Yeah. For the whole 54 nations in Africa. So we are all competing for that, and we want to ensure we can increase the size of the pie. So we're trying to ensure that state of play really feeds in, and what we are doing at the international conference, it really showcases Kenya as a place where global investors can come and land and see what they can be able to do.
All right, so what would you say about, or how would you describe Kenya's investment story? So in terms of, in that whole global play that you have put out, where does Kenya lie there? What's working for us? What needs to work better?
I think it's a good story, and I will tell you why it's a good story in a number of facets. Number one is Kenya has now become the 6th largest economy on the continent. Our economy continues to be stable. Our macro fundamentals are looking good. Interest rates are coming down. Inflation is single digit. And that is a good flavor. It's like the icing on the cake. But what we look for is really the opportunities that come with us. And Kenya is very fortunate that we have a diverse portfolio of opportunities across many sectors. You can talk about agriculture, ICT and BPO. You can talk about manufacturing. You can talk about emerging sectors like the blue economy and mining. Some countries you find is one or two sectors, then there's concentration. And here we have a portfolio of opportunities. That's on the private sector side to take advantage of. And we also have public opportunities, and there's a hybrid of public and private, PPP, and actors across government and my colleagues across many agencies in government. We are trying to really see how we can position these opportunities for investors to take advantage of. So, for example, in 2024, we had $1.5 billion worth of investments coming to Kenya. In 2025, the data we have shows that could go up to $2 billion, which means it's an upward trajectory. The number of foreign companies that have been registered in this country in the last 4 years, 2022 to 2025, give or take 750 foreign companies have set up, which means the story is good. What we are trying to do at the international conference is move beyond conversation into tangible outcomes. Yeah. We want to showcase some investment deals, and not MOUs are good, they signal the intent, but we want to show transactions that if a couple of months down the line you went to a location X or Y, or a county in the north or the south of Kenya, you'll be able to see something is going on. Kenyans are getting jobs, and that's how we connect global capital to local opportunity.
Yeah, and that was the next question for me, which is you're targeting deals worth $2 billion at this conference that's coming up. That's ambitious, up from what, 1.5, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the good story is you do not actually wake up and announce $2 billion plus worth of investments. Yeah. You work hard, you build a credible pipeline, quality pipeline that is, able to really get the yields that you're looking for. And we believe we will just breach the $2 billion plus value. You may have seen our minister went on to say it's $2 billion plus. let's stay right on this, and we'll see what happens next week on the 25th.
Yeah.
I think we may just surprise everyone.
So let's talk about that conference that's coming up. It's the 4th
Absolutely.
International Investment Conference that Kenya is hosting. You know, like you said, MOUs are good, and sometimes we see a lot of that, and then perhaps the follow-through isn't as robust. But what are some of the other outcomes that you're expecting from this one? And even as you answer that, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from the other 3 investment conferences that Kenya has hosted?
Absolutely. This is the 4th edition, and we have a number of objectives we hope to achieve in the conference. First is, of course, the investment deals are really critical, especially if you can showcase impact and success downstream in a couple of months or a year down the line or so. The second is really to see whether we could then persuade government. You know, we listen to investors every day. In a good week, we meet between 20 and 30 prospecting investors in this country because we believe we are the deal makers of investments in the country. So they come to us, we funnel them in and see how we can connect them to other actors in government. And we listen to their pain points. And those pain points, the resolution of that is policy issues, and that the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, in consultation with the National Treasury, we push some issues that are really credible from investors so that we can see to it that the outcomes that can be pronounced at the conference resonate with the expectations. And remember, our president has been very pragmatic in meeting private sector through the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, for example. He listens to contributions, resolve most of the things. We do business laws amendment acts. Is an ongoing journey of ensuring we do continuous and consistent reforms. And that work, we hope we could have some pronouncements. It's not mine to do, but to say we have listened to investors, we have transmitted the issues. We hope we can get somewhere next week, and hopefully we can see what that signal looks like.
So, you know, just your message now to investors, some of whom are watching, some of whom are interested. You know, you've talked about some of the issues that you know, you bring up and you channel and you try to influence policy, regulation in as much as you're able to resolve some of the issues that some investors might have or might look at Kenya and say, well, we're not sure about this. You've seen improvement over the last 3 editions. Has the story changed in terms of impact, where you say, you know, when we started the first one, these were some of the issues, this has been resolved, we've moved further on with the investment story?
I think it's been a good story, and as the conference has matured to the 4th edition, to change is always to perfect as much as you can.
Yeah.
I think we are now coming into a deal-making ecosystem. We want to have impact on policy, business climate, and we're trying to position Kenya as the next big thing on the continent. And we want to say we have opportunities in private sector, we have opportunities in public sector. We want to showcase investment projects, and investment projects must be bankable, so that bankers and financiers will not shy away from ensuring they can deploy their capital. The second issue is that we also must ensure we really support the sustainability agenda for even growth in the country, so that there is no concentration. It is good to have an investment in the coast, in the east, in the north, in the south, and we want to ensure we do that. And I think for the first time it's happening when there's a clear trajectory of where Invest Kenya and the Kenya Investment Authority is going. We want to really provide a digital one-stop center, which is an ecosystem of ensuring we provide a level playing field. It's digitized so that it's predictable, costs are certain, timelines are clear, so that investors don't have to walk around and, you know, knock a lot of doors. And we do that. And on the back end, we can do all the running around for investors in that case.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much for this, and we wish you all the best. We're looking forward to seeing how that goes and some of the deliberations, and of course the deals side.
Absolutely. I mean, my part, absolutely. Kenya has really the full investment stack.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're looking for. There's something for you in the investment stack for Kenya, and we are here to showcase what that is, not only for international investors, but for domestic investors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. CEO Invest Kenya, John Mwendwa, talking to us on Power Talk this week about the upcoming Kenya International Investment Conference from the 25th of March to the 27th, making Kenya bankable and investable. Thank you very much, John, for joining us on the program this week. That's Power Talk. Live from Moscow, we engage Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi on the recruitment of Kenyans to the Russian army.
Your mother's love is with you wherever you go. It starts with little moments of courage to stepping out into the new world with confidence. Stay soft. Nothing lasts like mom's love.
Jishindie pickup na zawadi nyinginezo na DECALB. DECALB from Bayer East Africa offers top-performing hybrid maize seeds that give you high yields, strong drought and disease tolerance, and reliable results. DECALB comes in trusted varieties. Buy genuine DECALB seed from your nearest agrovet, scratch SMS to 1393. You could be a winner. DECALB, mafanikio shambani. Terms and conditions apply. Licensed by BCLB.
Kibao kila wiki na Carrefour. Enjoy Mumia Sugar White 2 kg at 275 shillings. Assorted Coca-Cola Soda Spent 2 liters at 149 shillings. Bon Cooker at 35,695 shillings. And LG Fridge 266 liters at 63,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
Business extraordinary opportunities with Corp Bank MSME financing. And you'll get an incredible boost that will have all eyes on you. Cooperative Bank. We are you.
Kama sikisa tune yako, dial *860*277#. Kumbuka, sikisa na Citizen ndio nyumbani kwa wasanii wote.
Faith Kipyegon is definitely looking strong for her next race.
Ungani moja hakuna mix up mandazi kande bila waswas. Ugalini moja na hakuna mix up 210 ukisonga tunasonga chap chap.
Hi, I'm Faith Kipyegon, triple Olympic champion, world champion. Na mimi upenda food ya home. 210 unga yetu. Ladha ya nyumbani. Ukisonga tunasonga na 210 unga.
210.
Welcome back to the Explainer tonight. A reminder that we are still going to be speaking to the Prime Cabinet Secretary in charge of Foreign Affairs, who will be joining us live from Moscow in Russia. But first, Nairobi ODM delegates have now proposed to have the Iyala MP Winnie Odinga be one of the deputy party leaders during the forthcoming ODM National Delegates Conference. In a Nairobi delegates meeting led by the chair and Makadara lawmaker George Aladwa, the members now say they will write to Orange House within the next 3 days to consider expanding the deputy leadership positions from 3 to 4 to accommodate Winnie Odinga. Stephen Latour reports.
The ODM Nairobi delegates who held a meeting today in Nairobi resolved to have the Iyala lawmaker as one of the party deputies.
Tulipropose tuwe na mbunge wetu wa Iyala Mheshimiwa Winnie Odinga atuwakilishe katika region ya Nairobi kwenye NEC na kwenye Central Committee na kuwa one of the deputy party leaders.
According to the Nairobi delegates, the region has been left voiceless since the death of Odinga, who represented Nairobi region in the party top decision-making organ.
Nairobi must have a seat on the table. Nairobi comes with 1 million votes from ODM. Nairobi will have its say. And on March 27th, we will have our day.
Sisi tumesema kama Nairobi deputy party leader position, tuna support Mheshimiwa Winnie Odinga. Na tumsupport kwa sababu yeye ni mtoto wa Raila Odinga. Tuelewane. Wangapi tulikuwa nao BBI, tumekuwa nao campaigns, Winnie anakuaga kuagi.
Orange Party is set for its NDC next Friday to, among other things, ratify decisions made by the party organs, including removal of the party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and initiating pre-election talks with President William Ruto's UDA party.
Na pia utapata barua kabla NDC kwa siku 3 zijazo ya kusema kama wajumbe wa Nairobi tumesema tuongezewe nafasi ya deputy party leaders wakuwa 4, Winnie akiwa mmoja wao.
Yala MP Winnie Odinga told the Nairobi delegates that she is firmly in the Orange Party.
Nimesikia kuna watu hapa ati wananikaribisha nyumbani. Ati wananikaribisha. Nilienda wapi bana?
Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has ruled out the possibility of the Kenyan government compensating those who were killed or injured in the Russia-Ukraine war. Speaking in Moscow, Russia, Mudavadi, however, reiterated that the Kenyan government will help those who want to be repatriated back home, calling on Kenyans to remain vigilant against the allure of such jobs. Emmanuel Tor reports now from Moscow.
3, 2 for preparatory course program.
Barely a day after the Russian authorities distanced themselves from the compensation of Kenyans who were recruited into the Russian military, the Kenyan government is also reading from the same script.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking in Moscow, Russia, where he is currently on a fact-finding mission to address the concerns raised by Kenyans on the conscription of Kenyans into the Russian-Ukraine war, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said the government will not be involved in any compensation.
The government of Kenya is not party to those contracts. All right? We are facilitating to help them disengage from difficult situations. But it is not our duty at this point in time to say we are compensating them, because we are not party to it. We did not facilitate them. It was their own volition.
The families of those who were affected in the war, including 10 who were killed and scores others injured, have consistently insisted that the government must take responsibility for the safety of their kin.
The compensation can only be on the terms and the basis of the contractual obligation that you entered into. So if you terminate the contract, your compensation does not arise.
Mudavadi was non-committal on the exact time when the next batch of Kenyans will be repatriated back home, citing the uncertainty of distress calls from some trapped in the battle.
It depends on how soon we are able to extract some of them from the front line and from the hospitals. Okay. That is it.
The details emerge as legislators who accompanied him to Russia also promised to crack the whip through legislation when they get back home.
What do we do with the rogue agents? And those are the gaps that we've identified. And I think when we go back to the House, those are some of the things that we must quickly address with colleagues.
Mazungumzo haya yanapata upenyo vizuri na Wakenya watapata msaada.
This comes as the details of how to retrieve Kenyans still held as prisoners of war remain unclear, with reports of more Kenyans held captive in Ukraine.
We have maybe close to, on record, maybe about 3 to 2, possibly, but there could be more.
And therefore you find most of them, they get either once they get injured, they either get to hospitals around the same region near the borders. Others go to St. Petersburg, others go to different parts, others are brought to Moscow.
Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Moscow, Russia.
Let's talk more about that now here with Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi in charge of Foreign Affairs. Prime CS, thank you for joining us live from Russia. Good evening. I'd like us to begin by talking about the Kenyans who heard of your trip to Moscow, and a vast majority were expecting that this issue of recruitment of Kenyans in the Russian military to be resolved. Has the issue now been fully resolved?
Well, I don't know if you can hear me well.
We can, thank you.
Okay, great. Before I actually dwell onto the issue, let me just take this moment to really appreciate that we've had constructive dialogue with the Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, in Moscow on how we can deal with the situation that brought me here. That is also over and above the bilateral issues that we had to converse. Now, I would say that our coming here has been very, very important in the sense that there were numerous messages of distress from families of those who have been caught up in this predicament on the front lines of the war in this country and between this country and the Ukraine. Now, I came here primarily to seek 2 or 3 things. First, to ensure that there is no further enlisting Kenyans into the special military operations. Kenyans should not be brought into those hostilities, and they should not be engaged in those hostilities. Secondly, we also came here to make sure that we can be of assistance to the Kenyans so that they can be assisted to get back to their families in Nairobi. These are the 2 very fundamental issues that we are focusing on. Over and above that, we also have to be able to work with the authorities, the Russian government authorities, to ensure that the soldiers that are on the front line or the Kenyans that are on the front line are recalled and disengaged so that they can be assisted to go back to their country. These were the primary reasons why we were here.
And was it a success in terms of some of those, the 3 issues that you've mentioned, Waziri?
Yes, I think it's very important. It's very significant for me to in our bilateral meeting, it came out very clearly, and it was agreed with my counterpart here that there shall be no further enlisting of Kenyans into the special military operations. That is a very, very significant achievement, because we are putting closure to any more Kenyans finding their way into these hostilities. That is a very significant thing. The process of getting them back is not an instant process. They are involved in the battlefront. And to extract them from there is not just going to a place and plucking them out and putting them in a plane to get back home. It's a process, it's a war zone, and the country, that is Russia, with its capabilities, would have to assist so that these Kenyans can then be retrieved from those front lines when their time for disengagement has been determined.
So your Russian counterpart, Minister Sergei Lavrov, when asked the question of recruitment of Kenyans and he said that he had absolutely no control over the issue because, and I quote, he said, those who went there don't have contracts with the government of Russia. Where does this leave you as the government and indeed Kenyans and the families of those whose kin are fighting in this war?
These individuals, the Kenyans, went there on their own volition. Either they were lured or they knowingly entered into these contracts. Now, they entered into contracts which the government of Kenya has no part in. I want to make this very clear. We have no role, no part in those contractual obligations. They are purely contractual obligations between the individuals and the people they were dealing with. However, because they are Kenyans, in accordance with our own constitution and in accordance of the need for the Kenyan government to have the welfare of Kenyans at the forefront, we are here to assist in trying to get them out of the predicament that they have put themselves in. Now, what we expect and what the Russian minister did say is that these were contractual arrangements, and if you have entered into a contract, your terms of settlement are defined in those contracts. This is what he meant when he was saying that they will not, it's not about the Russian authorities, but it is about how the contracts were entered into. So the message here is that the Kenyans who entered into this put themselves into some contractual obligations, and the termination of such contracts has its consequences, and when it ends, there are also consequences. You would have to either go away with what is due to you, or you go away without getting it if it is terminated. But what's more important now is the lives of these Kenyans. That is the most important thing.
And you mentioned assisting those Kenyans who wish to return to do so. And you've talked about it being a process. How will this work, Waziri?
It's a process in the sense that it is a war zone. You are not going to walk into a war zone. By the way, it may be important for Kenyans to appreciate that Russia is about 17,000 square kilometers in size. It's about half a continent, half of the continent of Africa. I think it's important that Kenyans appreciate this. And in our mission here, we have the ambassador plus 5 Kenyan officers. So logistically, Kenya must work with the government of Russia to assist these Kenyans. It cannot be a unilateral decision, and it cannot be a unilateral process. So we have to collaborate to be able to get them from the difficult zones, whether they're in hospitals or whether they are on the front line. Then they have to be assisted procedurally to come and get the support to fly back to Kenya.
Okay, Waziri, what I'm asking is, so what's that process? You've talked about it being a collaborative process between the Kenyan and Russian governments. That we understand. So what are the next steps? How are you going about identifying the people, who they are, where they are, and you know, what happens from, say, tomorrow?
It's actually, it is not from tomorrow. It has been happening.
Okay.
Kenya has already supported 44 Kenyans to get back home. Our mission here, led by Ambassador Mathuki, they have been receiving messages either from the families at home in Nairobi or Kenya, sending messages and requests. They have put out a website for Kenyans to indicate where they are, Some of these reports or contacts we made through that website where they've had access to it. And at the same time, some of the Kenyans on the front line have also been sending signals that they are in distress, and they are guided as to how to get to the mission and supported.
Waziri, help us understand or clarify on the numbers. How many Kenyans exactly have been recruited in this war? Do we know the exact number?
We can give you the records from the records that we have at the embassy in Russia. We are talking about 252 Kenyans. That is the figure that we can verify from the mission.
All right.
Because contact has been made in one way or the other, and the names are available.
I see. Is that a more conservative figure? We'd done a report here on Citizen Television provided by the National Intelligence Service that I believe went before Parliament, and they gave the number at 1,000. Do you think they overstated that figure?
At this point in time, I would like to give you on the basis of the figures that are verified at the embassy. So that is what I want to deal with. There could be more. There's a possibility because some of these individuals found their way through third-party countries. It was not necessarily directly from moving from Nairobi to the area where there's conflict. So there could be more. But in the absence of that verification, I can only quote what has been verified where there's an accurate record with our embassy in Moscow.
Well, do we know the status of these 252? Are they alive? How many have died? How many are in hospital, if any? How many need some type of assistance? What's the status of these 252 individuals?
Well, it's varied. Some are definitely on the front line, and basically you cannot communicate with them directly or in any other way. There are some who have found themselves in hospitals, and our mission has talked to them. Some of those 44 who have come home are also those, some who had walked out of hospitals after treatment and then assisted to go, and others who literally had deserted the engagement that they had entered into. And indeed, we have lost some. But actual verification could take longer for those who are recorded as missing in action.
How many are recorded missing in action? How many have died?
We could be talking about 11 people so far.
Mr. CS, how did these Kenyans get recruited without the knowledge of the Kenyan government? You've also talked about them using different routes. Do you know the routes that they used to get to Russia?
You see, the Constitution of Kenya allows freedom of movement. Kenyans are not restricted when they want to travel. We cannot restrict them. It's their right. Now, somebody can leave Nairobi, go to another country, and when he leaves that country and moves to a third or fourth country, you will not be able to keep track of that movement. All right, so that's one thing that needs to be appreciated in this context. Now, as to the Kenyans who were involved here, there are two sides to it. There are those who were lured or those who found their way out through fraudulent agencies, and there are those who knowingly went out there with a very clear intention to enlist in this conflict. Now, those two categories exist. But I also have to state that there are lapses, both in law and processes, which we have to address as a country. Lapses in law in the sense that we need to have tighter laws, immigration for those who wish to migrate. when it comes to moving out of Kenya and going to seek jobs outside.
Yeah, but have you at least established the route so that maybe that can be a flag that when you see certain people leaving the country, going to certain regions, and then is that something you've been able to establish so far so that it sort of gives you an understanding of how this works?
Some of this become intelligence information because if we are trying to track also the people who are involved, then some of these things must remain confidential because then they become part of the process that security agencies are using to be able to establish the culprits who are luring Kenyan people and taking them to the wrong place. In effect, it could be some form of trafficking.
Yeah, and so, with that in mind, what you say that this could be some form of trafficking, can the Russian government completely absolve itself from this issue, considering, we have Kenyan men and perhaps women who are fighting on the front lines and are technically dying on the battlefront? If this is a trafficking position, do you think Russia has any culpability at all in this matter?
I think one of the things that we have to emphasize here is that these Kenyans signed contracts. Okay? But we are alive to the fact that we are here to stop enlisting of Kenyans into the special military operations. The other aspects that I would want to talk to is to really state a few things for Kenyans to appreciate on this challenge that we are facing, this very unfortunate situation that we are facing. I don't know whether we have exhausted this particular issue so that we can move on to that aspect, or you want to us to pursue this just a little more.
Yeah, because these are also questions that are coming in from Kenyans who are watching. So with respect to this issue, if you think it is a trafficking issue, what sort of demands did you make of the Russian government with respect to that? Because one would imagine that the Russians, recruit people for their armies, and perhaps not through agencies. And if, as you say, this is a matter of trafficking, what sort of agreement, other than no further listing of those, if this is some people who are lured into this with false pretenses, what sort of agreement have you made to ensure that there's no more trafficking of Kenyans between our country and the Russian Republic?
There are laws that govern this. In fact, as we speak, some Kenyans, I think, are facing either possible charges or they've had to write statements with some of our investigative agencies in Kenya for having been part of a process. And that investigation and the details are going to emerge as they face the law in Kenya. So we are here, that if you follow in detail, Kenya, for instance, is a signatory to certain conventions, UN conventions, and even the African Union conventions that prohibit any involvement of Kenyans in that may be defined as commercialization or people becoming mercenaries in any kind of situation. So what we want to be able to convey to the Kenyan people here is that what has been happening is illegal. It is illegal.
Yeah, and so what is sort of...
We are dealing with a situation where there's been a breach of law. Now, if you go and look at Section 68 of the Penal Code of Kenya, it's very categorical that no Kenyan can enlist in a foreign army without the explicit approval of the President of Kenya in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces.
Waziri, does Russia agree with you on this issue of this being trafficking?
On our laws, we have made it very clear that these are our laws, and what has been happening, it does not conform with the Kenyan laws. Their laws may be different, but insofar as the Kenyan law is concerned, and that is what we want to address, the Kenyans are in this awkward situation, but in the process, they've also breached the law.
Waziri, does Russia share your sentiments about this being international trafficking, particularly for those who are lured into these jobs under false pretenses?
I think what was very clear in our conversation is that Russia is a friendly country, and to them, the issue of contracting, as in the case of these Kenyans, was a voluntary process of those Kenyans. That is the position.
What of those who've been lured? Will they be compensated by the Kenyan government? What sort of assistance will be provided to them beyond repatriation back to the country? Because these are victims of trafficking, to use your words.
We cannot compensate them because they did not announce their departure. They were not sanctioned by the government of Kenya.
Even those who were lured and, to use your words, were trafficked?
If they were lured, it is not the government of Kenya that was involved in the luring.
And the Kenyan government isn't responsible for those who are victims of human trafficking?
What we can do, we can assist at this stage to bring them home. We can assist to bring them out of the distress areas through the diplomatic channels. And that is exactly what I am here to do. But we cannot get entangled in a process where we start compensating people who signed contractual obligations without the knowledge nor the consent of the government of Kenya.
All right, help us understand, Waziri, whether it is possible, and allow me here with this thought process, can a Kenyan individual go and enlist in a foreign army? Knowingly now, not being lured, but those who are.
If it is with the consent. If it is with the consent, there's a possibility you can enlist in that foreign army. But there is no consent here. It was not granted, it was not sought.
All right, so what then happens to those who come back and who knowingly enlisted? Are you going to subject them to criminal proceedings, considering they went there and enlisted in a foreign army without presidential approval?
Now, the first thing that we have to do is to face the humanitarian challenge. We are a government. We have to help them get out of the difficult situation. There's the option, either you can pursue prosecution or the government of Kenya can look at it in the context of an amnesty that can be granted under these kind of circumstances, so that there's no situation where you think that the government of Kenya is inhuman. But I think the message that needs to go out here is that there's also an illegality that has been committed, and it has serious consequences. And we always tell Kenyans that we have agencies in the Ministry of Labor, in the Department of the Diaspora and Foreign Affairs, where we can give guidance and help you determine the integrity of the engagement that you are entering into.
Okay, thank you, Waziri. I'd like us to move now to a matter of global concern, and that is the conflict that's taking place in the Gulf, the war between Israel and the United States against the Republic of Iran. Waziri, we've not heard from you on this situation, and it's 17 days into the conflict. Is your silence deliberate?
I don't think it's accurate when you say that you have not heard from me. I was one of the first people to issue a statement. And I said very clearly, we must call for the escalation of the conflict in the Middle East.
In relation to the conflict...
Yes, I did say it. And I said that one of the things that I pointed out is that Kenya has got about 400,000 citizens in various Gulf cooperation states. And we are a modest middle income economy. If this escalated, the lives of these people would be in danger. And we do not have the capacity to say that you can evacuate them. You can see even bigger nations or nations that are having challenges in evacuating their people from that zone. So we have talked to this, and the impact, the knock-off effect or knock-on effect is serious. I mean, the costs of fuel, the disruption in supply chains, the disruption in aviation, the possibility of our exports suffering is extremely high. And we've talked about this. I have said it.
In relation, Waziri, to this conflict, what sort of discussions did you have with your Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, with respect to this war?
I think with this war, and just like the country is facing a lot of the world is facing a lot of hotspots at this point in time. And Russia, the United States, France, UK, and China are the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, the P5. And my position here and even before is that this is the time that there must be serious internal reflection of the P5 nations, because they are the ones who have the greater capacity to make sure that they can bring an end to these hostilities that are happening in different parts of the world, and then be able to re-engineer confidence in the multilateral institutions like the United Nations, because it is only through multilateral institutions that we can safeguard and secure broader peace. But if the P5 do not reflect on this issue, it will take much longer to put an end to these hostilities.
Russia has been very critical of this war, especially with what they term indiscriminate bombing of civilians by Israel and the United States. Do you share that concern? And if so, did you express this to the Russian government?
First of all, let me be very clear that the focus here was about the Kenyan citizens. And we did express, and I have expressed our concern about the well-being of all human beings, especially those in conflict zones. And by the way, as these conflicts go on, the conflicts in Africa are being forgotten. And yet there's even a bigger humanitarian crisis in places like Sudan.
Okay.
So the attention that we want to seek here is not just to talk about what the P5 or the big powers think about the Middle East and what have you. It is time for the international community, for the world, to actually come together and put an end to these hostilities.
All right, I will come back to that in a moment, and that is a fair point, Waziri, but my question was with respect to Russia's position, because you are in Moscow right now, and you did speak with the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. They have been critical of certain aspects of this war. I just want to know, as a cabinet secretary in charge of foreign affairs, do you share some of those sentiments about
on this issue, I do not I do not speak for any other country. I speak for Kenya.
And that's what I'm asking. Do you share
and I've made
those views?
the position of Kenya very clear. So if any other nation wants to express themselves, they have the capacity to express themselves more accurately about their feelings and their sentiments about the conflicts. So I cannot be a mouthpiece for another country.
I'm
For
asking
Kenya,
you, Waziri, what you think about
Kenya, I
the
want to make it
complaints
very
around
clear
that.
that we must de-escalate the conflict. The world must de-escalate the conflict in the Middle East and in other parts where there's conflict.
All right, Waziri, you said there's many other conflicts that are forgotten, particularly on the African continent. Is this something you raised with your Russian counterpart?
Yes, I said so. And I've said that the P5 should reflect, these are the more powerful nations, the bigger nations, they need to reflect and see within the context of the multilateral institutions how they can dialogue and make sure that they can help and put their best foot forward so that these conflicts can be terminated.
Waziri, you said there's over 400,000 Kenyans who are residing and working in the Gulf region in general. Do you know how many are directly affected, if any, what sort of assistance any of them may require? Is this something you've mapped out?
We have been in regular contact with our missions in those countries. Personally, I have made calls to several of our ambassadors. The permanent secretary in Foreign Affairs has also been in contact. The PS, Njogu, in diaspora has been in contact with the ambassadors. We have had virtual conversations. So there's a very regular check on the situation between Nairobi and our embassies in the region.
Do you know how many, if at all, require?
Luckily.
Yeah.
And we pray that it remains that way. We have not had any fatalities affecting Kenyans in any of the countries as of now.
Are there any who've requested repatriation?
We have told them to keep in touch with the embassies, and they are communicating as much as possible with the embassies. Not too long ago, we had some flights, KQ going there, and some Kenyans who wanted to leave were able to fly out.
So you would term the KQ flight as repatriation?
There's no, what I would say is that the ones who felt that wanted to get out, if possible, we will always encourage them to do so and give them the opportunity to do so. There have been some flights, not as regular, but intermittent, even with other airlines from the region into Nairobi. And this will continue for as long as it's possible.
Waziri, what's the repatriation protocols or measures that you've put in place for those who want to come back, who feel unsafe?
I'm just going through them with you. We have told them to be in touch with the embassies, to keep regular contact with our missions. And it's that way that we are able to keep our efforts to make sure that we can converse with them and to know the state in which they are and where there'll be need to make any logistical engagements. Our embassies have been drilled on certain protocols on how to help them as much to the best of their ability and the resources that will be available to help them to safety.
Right, Waziri, it is that logistical operation that I was referring to. Is there something in place to say, bring some of the Kenyans who feel unsafe? Allow me to finish the question, Waziri. Waziri, yes, allow me to finish the question.
I cannot start telling you that there's the telephone number of this ambassador and that ambassador. They are in touch with the missions. And the missions are in touch with the Kenyans. There are positions where they can all collate and gather for certain communication. the drills have been going through working with the respective countries that they reside in. Now, those are details that would not be the details of a minister.
Waziri, my question...
That would be worked on. I've given you the highlights.
I understood. My question, Waziri, if you allowed me to finish, was with respect to the capacity of the Kenyan government to bring back the Kenyans that may feel unsafe. Do we have the capacity, financial or otherwise, to bring back those Kenyans who might feel like they want to return? Over 400,000 Kenyans, like you've said, residing in this...
It's very limited. Very limited.
Okay.
It's very limited.
All right.
Let me be honest here. And I did say that there's a question of working together, but it's very limited. Can you imagine what it would cost and the logistical arrangement it would take to evacuate 400,000 people in the event of an emergency? It's a very difficult undertaking. And it would be a cost that would have to be borne by the taxpayers of Kenya. All right? So let us be realistic here. And the realism I'm trying to put across is that first, we hope that this war can de-escalate. Secondly, we are trying to make sure that in the event of trouble, there can be safe spaces. There are guidelines that are also being issued by the respective countries, being communicated to the citizens of other countries that are in those states, guiding them as to what would be safe spots, which would not be safe spots, and so forth.
Great.
And as a mission, they have to keep track and keep a record of the missions there. In certain instances, yes, we may be forced to help very needy cases. But at the same time, it's more of providing solidarity and comfort at this point in time.
Waziri, that is where I was heading with the question. 400,000 Kenyans are, that's a great number. It's a significant one. And so when I was asking about logistics, one of the things that I suppose Kenyans would want to know is, has the Kenyan government and the foreign ministry engaged with these countries, Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, for all those that maybe would not be able to get back to the country? What sort of conversations are you having with these nations?
What is the purpose of missions and ambassadors? I'm trying to help you. Those are the missions, the ambassadors. We communicate using our diplomats in those countries. That is it. Yeah.
So you've activated these talks with the foreign governments?
I don't know how more I can help you, because I'm trying to tell you that our ambassadors are in touch. They're also in communication with the government where they are working. They are the ones who have getting information and also relaying to the Kenyans. They are working with those governments. They are accredited to those governments to work with them on behalf of Kenya and on behalf of the people of Kenya. This is the medium of communication.
Thank you, Waziri. Let's take a look at some feedback. Here, questions coming in from our viewers. If we can put those up, I will read them for you, Waziri. This is from Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok. He says, first of all, the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Immigration Department should admit their failures and full responsibility of Kenyans sneaking out to receive military trainings abroad without consent of the government. I believe that's a comment. Waziri, maybe I can read a few and then we can respond to them after. This is from a viewer who doesn't leave a name. Yvonne, kindly through you, may I know from the Prime Cabinet Secretary if his main role that took him to Moscow was to work with the Russian Authority to recall and disengage the affected Kenyans. Can he represent us in asking for the compensation of our brothers? I believe that's already been resolved by the CS. Let's take a look at another one. This one says, Mheshimiwa, kindly make sure everyone is back home. Go to deportation centers, hospitals, and also go to Ukraine and retrieve the bodies. Let's see another one. Please ask the CS about the recruiters who are operating in the country. Perhaps we can pause here while we have you respond to that one.
Well, on the one about the recruiters, I did say that we are looking at the law and their lapses, which I conceded to in the context that the laws that exist will need to be reinforced. And for your information, there's a draft bill which we are now going to forward to Parliament, where we have made certain provisions or proposals on how to make it tighter and make any agencies that are involved in this kind of business to be more accountable, to keep proper records, to have a reporting mechanism where what they're doing can be verified on a regular basis. This has not been the case in the past. So we want to be able to deal with that. And very soon, this will be legislation that will be up for debate and also for Kenyans to make public participation in the reinforcement of those laws.
Waziri, as a follow-up to that, have your investigations, perhaps you may not want to reveal the extent of your investigations, but are you looking into the possibility that this was done in collusion with certain government officials?
When you're investigating, all options or all issues are on the table. So if the investigation finds itself at the doorstep of any individual who has lured Kenyans into wrong circumstances, then they will have to face the law.
Do you see gaps and loopholes, perhaps, in that you can tighten even, outside of the investigations?
That's why we want to. We will not wait for the investigation to be concluded for us to submit the law to Parliament. We are already in the process of submitting the law. In fact, let me just make some very quick reference to what I'm talking about. This is the labor migration bill. We are talking about the labor migration bill. We have moved it quite far, and we are making very specific recommendations. Just for instance, right now, these recruitment agencies are not gazetted. That means some of them are fly-by-night situations or companies. So we want to make it tighter. We want to be able to gazette. We want the owners or the proprietors of these entities known without any secrecy whatsoever. And if they're doing a good job, let us see their returns and their data. And those that are not can also be degazetted. And then we must have proper sanctions or penalties built into the law so that it becomes a very, very expensive affair if you lure Kenyans into the wrong circumstances.
All right, let's take a look at some more feedback and questions that are coming in. This one has been sent via text. Who contracted these Kenyans to the Russian war? Name the Kenyan contracting agencies in the whole saga.
I would rather this comes out through an investigative process. I don't want to impute any improper motive, but good progress is being made in establishing which companies were involved where or whatever, and that will be followed up by the investigative agencies.
All right. Before we go into the next one, I'd like to read you a comment from Ambassador Zadok Siongo, who is formerly a special policy advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, as it was known at the time. And he says, by accepting the Kenyans to join its military and to fight in its ranks in the battlefront, the Russian government technically assumed responsibility for the recruitment contract and all obligations it entails. The Prime Cabinet Secretary should not so easily be given to the Russian government on this front. What's your response to this?
I think he's just stating what was stated earlier. There was a contractual obligation, and those people would have to be compensated in accordance with the contractual obligation that they entered into. And that is exactly what the Russian minister said. He said that these were voluntary contractual obligations. And if there's any compensation, it has to be in accordance with that compensation. Plain and simple. So there's nothing new that my friend Zedi Siongo has added to this conversation.
Well, what he's actually saying is that the Russian government technically assumes responsibility and that you are letting the Russian government off easy on this matter.
I'm not letting off the Russian government easy. Let us be realistic. These were obligations signed by these individuals. We are here to make it very clear that Kenyans should not be enlisted. We are also here to make it very clear that the ones who have been enlisted should be recalled from that engagement and should be assisted to go home.
All right, let's take a look at some more here. Here we are. The contracts that Kenyans entered into, I think this has been answered already. It's about the validity of the contracts, considering both governments are not involved. That's been answered. Let's take another one. Did the government of Kenya question the numbers traveling to Kenya in the last year, because the Department of Foreign Affairs should have questioned the numbers of Kenyans traveling to Russia? I suppose, did you see a spike at some point before, the families of those who are there, came to light?
By the way, if you look at the numbers, they're not huge numbers in the context of the ones that would raise an alarm as a spike, because we have told you very clearly that the embassy has established 252 Kenyans. Now, the issue of travel, Kenyans can seek electronic visas through electronically, they can seek through the various missions and travel. Without the government of Kenya. Today, Yvonne, if you want to travel to Zimbabwe or you want to travel to the United States, the government of Kenya will not obstruct you. You will make your application for the visa on your own. All right? So we are not living in the old regime. This time, people make the applications directly. Even the 400,000 I'm talking about who are working in the various Gulf states, they apply for the visa on their own, and they go on their own. It's not about the government of Kenya policing its people in this context. So we are getting it wrong by making it look like people close their eyes in this circumstance. People are involved in a voluntary enlisting, a contractual obligation. Whether they knew where they were going or whether they did not know, that is an issue we'll discuss when they get back home. The first thing we want to do is help them to get out of the predicament.
I think I've got two final ones. One's a comment, one's a quick question as we close, Waziri. There is this question saying, part of the route used to recruit easily to Russia was through electronic visas. Is the Kenyan government also pushing for the suspension of the same to deter Kenyans from enlisting in the fight in Russia? That's a question, but maybe I can, let's tackle that and then we can finish off with the last comment.
You see, remember, if people are listening to me, I said that some of the Kenyans who found themselves there went through third-party countries. Two, some would apply to have tourist visas. So the whole issue about the private contract, the contractual obligation, remained secret, known only to that individual. All right? So when they apply, the reasons that they give on the visa are different. They'll give, I'm going to become a tourist, I'm going for a business conference, I'm going for something else. And then once they land where they have landed, then they engage in a different kind of activity.
Waziri, as we close, there's family members who, today are still searching for their missing kin. There's some who have had to have a mock burial because they cannot trace the bodies of their loved ones from Russia. As we close, what sort of assurances do you give them? And I know you talked about a website that's available for those who might not be able to access that. Maybe this is a moment to just give them some information as to how they can reach the government and, for those who are looking for the bodies of their loved ones to pay final respects.
First of all, I want to say that we really convey our condolences to these families because whether it's somebody who is missing in action or injured or maimed or unfortunately has passed on, it is sad, it's regrettable. Every human life matters. So we feel sad about that. Now, the point I would want to emphasize is that our embassy has been conducting all it can. It has helped 44 Kenyans find their way back to their families. It will continue to engage here diplomatically, to work with authorities here, to support more Kenyans. We also will have consular services so that they can support the Kenyans who are in a state of distress. Sometimes they may visit them in hospital. They assist them to have travel documents because some of them are now coming out of these front lines without travel documents. And they have to be assisted with temporary travel documents to find their way back to Kenya. So this is the process. It's an unfortunate situation. But for purposes of going into the future, even as we tackle this, I want to reiterate that please, my fellow Kenyans, especially the young ones, first, it is illegal to enlist. And I wish to specifically draw their attention to Section 68 of the Penal Code, which is very categorical. So there's been a breach. But that is not our target today. Our target is to see what can be done legally, diplomatically, through negotiation, and through working with the authorities here to extract these Kenyans from the front lines and take them home. Some of them may have already become prisoners of war, and they may be held. In fact, we believe that maybe 2 or 3 are on record as already being held as prisoners of war on the other side of the conflict. And therefore, there are conventions that govern how you manage and retrieve prisoners of war. So we hope, for instance, and this we made very clear, that when the Russian government is negotiating for the retrieval of their prisoners of war, if there were Kenyans found in this situation, they should be included in that category, so that they can find their way back and be assisted to go home. It is a very unfortunate situation. And lives are involved. So we have to be very, very realistic here. It's not something to politicize in the normal way. It's not a political game. It's a real life situation where people have been losing lives or are being injured. And we really want to appeal to Kenyans that we'll do our best within our constitutional framework. We are a government that cares. So we'll do our best. But at the same time, please, as Kenyans, we are appealing to you that there are institutions, the National Employment Authority, which regulates agencies that are in this business, the Diaspora Department, which also focuses on how to assist the Kenyans in the diaspora. Let's work together. This adventure has nothing to do with Kazi Majuri. This one was a very, very unfortunate situation that Kenyans have voluntarily or through fraud been lured into or found themselves in. Let us make this the turning point.
Indeed, thank you very much, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, for joining us on The Explainer tonight, live from Moscow, Russia. Waziri, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Waziri. Let's take a break now. We're back with the day's business news, and Emmanuel Ndungu will be here with the day's sports. Teleposter towers among assets set for liquidation as pension scheme switches to liquid assets.
G26 itaweza. Timiza ndoto zako mwaka huu. Jinue na Absa unsecured personal loans za hadi 12 million shillings. Pata nyumba na Absa home loans from just 9% per annum. Au ujichukulie gari lako with up to 100% car financing. Isitoshe, say yes to more rewards with an Absa credit card. SMS loan to 22268 na utakuwa sorted. Absa, your story matters. Take advantage of our own collection offer and get additional discounts when you pick up your order from Royal Mabati Factory Limited, corrugated and box profile at 353 shillings per meter, brick tile and Roman tile at 370 shillings per meter. Free delivery is still available, but own collection means bigger savings, and you get your Mabati within 2 hours. Call us now on 0722 638383.
When I have back pain, I reach for 2 tablets of Panadol Extra. With unique Optizop technology, Panadol Extra provides 3 times more pain-relieving power than standard paracetamol for fast relief from strong pain like headache, toothache, and muscle pain, and can get to work in 10 minutes so that I am ready to be there for those who need me. Stronger pain relief at only 20 shillings per pair.
Mid-month doesn't have to mean cutting corners. Citizen Duca brings you affordable essentials and quality daily products you can trust. All you need to do is WhatsApp us your shopping list to 0710-487-487 and we deliver. Citizen Duca, your home of discounts.
Citizen Duca, the home of discounts.
Wherever you are, we're all part of the same story. We are Broadways.
Broadways Bread, a heritage of quality, baked with heart since 1958.
صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. آمين.
Wacha kubahatisha, anza kuwin. Form mpya imefika. Hii form ni cheza cheza. Una bundles, una smartphone, usiwori. Dial *770# sahi. Na cheza cheza huchezi hard, unacheza smart. Tuko na AI system inafanya hiyo kazi ngumu for you. Chagua quick bet, single bet ama multi bet. Weka stake yako na wacha system ikupatie win yako. Games ikiingiana, wallet inanona instantly. Cheza cheza leo. Decide how much you want to win. Dial *770# now. Usi stress. Cheza cheza. Not for persons under the age of 18. Gambling can be addictive. Cheza Cheza is authorized and regulated by BCLB under license number BK 0000856.
Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour. Enjoy Mumia Sugar White 2 kg at 275 shillings. Assorted Coca-Cola Soda Spent 2 liters at 149 shillings. Bon Cooker at 35,695 shillings. And LG Fridge 266 liters at 63,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
A new dawn beckons for Kisii County, a new chapter in infrastructure and road maintenance. This Wednesday, Governor Simba Arati unveils 60 heavy road construction machines set to transform the county's road network. Graders, excavators, wheel loaders, rollers, and dozers. Powerful machines ready to open roads, connect, and drive development. Be part of this milestone moment live on Citizen TV from 2 p.m.
Wherever you are, we're all part of the same story. We are Broadway's.
Broadway's bread, a heritage of quality, baked with heart since 1958.
At ZTech University, we equip you with global skills to thrive in today's and tomorrow's job market. Choose from market-driven programs in law, data science, computer science, nursing, software engineering, education, business, hospitality, media, IT, and international relations. Learn from expert faculty committed to your success. Grow beyond the classroom. Call our admissions consultants and join our May 2026 intake. ZTech University. Inventing the future.
Africa is rising. Africa is urbanizing. From the streets of Nairobi to the skylines of Lagos, from bold vision to real action. April 8th to 10th, 2026, leaders, investors, innovators, and financiers gather in Nairobi for the Africa Urban Forum at the KICC, convened by the African Union Commission and hosted by the Government of Kenya, with exhibitions running throughout the forum. Africa's future is urban. Africa is building. Be part of it. Register now at www.auf2.go.ke for attendance and exhibition opportunities.
Business News, brought to you by Safaricom Business.
Keep business growing with calling, texting, and SMS. Stay connected with customers and suppliers with Zidisha Plus voice and data. Join Safaricom Business today and power your progress.
The Teleposta pension scheme has announced plans to liquidate up to 70% of its asset portfolio, an equivalent of about 10 to 11 billion shillings from a total portfolio of 14.1 billion. This, they say, will improve the scheme's liquidity and its ability to meet member obligations. The move will see the scheme dispose of several prime property holdings, including the iconic Teleposta Towers in Nairobi, as it moves away from traditionally immovable assets such as real estate investments towards more flexible financial instruments. Jimmy Mbogo has more.
According to Teleposta Pension Scheme Management, the move to pivot from over-reliance on asset to liquidity is part of the scheme's measures to ensure that it offers members a return that takes into account the inflationary pressures they face day to day. In increasing their exposure to liquid assets, they plan to tap into new asset classes such as the government-backed National Infrastructure Fund, the bond market and other securities. They are optimistic that this will deliver more revenue and align with regulatory requirements to hold assets up to a maximum of 30% of their portfolio.
Why are we rebranding? Because we are exiting the property portfolio. Once we exit that property portfolio, it's a new way of doing things. Because number one, the moment we have exited and maybe come from 83% to lower than 30%, there'll be other benefits that will accrue to our members. One, we'll review the benefits in payment. That is very, very critical.
The planned asset liquidation comes at a time when pension schemes are under growing pressure to balance long-term returns with short-term liquidity needs. The scheme is also seeking to raise between 10 to 11 billion shillings, representing an equivalent of 70% of their total asset under management.
Being closed, we have to be very, very conservative because our members are old. So we are constrained we are very conservative in where we will put our funds. Teleposta Towers will go in the market. We are having engagement with government entities. We are also going to dispose Bombolulu, Makande, Aga Khan, GTI, and other properties.
According to Teleposta Management, although property investment have historically delivered stable returns, the overhead cost of maintaining and running them has resulted in the consideration.
We want to ensure that members get value for the assets they have, and that explains why we are moving from our property holdings, which have been generating very, very low returns. We have only had one property that has been giving us close to 7%. The other properties, residentials, have been giving us close to negative 2%, and we have been spending so much on administrative costs.
The liquidation process is set to take the next 2 years, with the scheme committing to engage actuaries to help determine how the benefit will go down to members. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Financial services firm Old Mutual Holdings PLC has reported modest growth in its 2025 full-year results, supported by strong performance in its asset management and life insurance businesses, as well as increased digital adoption. The regional financial services group says its diversified portfolio and investments in tech are helping it maintain steady growth despite a challenging economic environment. Dennis Otieno reports.
Old Mutual Holdings reported a profit after tax of 856 million shillings for the year ending December 2025, representing a 2% increase from the previous year. The group posted a profit before tax of 1.9 billion shillings, while total assets grew by 6% to 79.2 billion shillings, reflecting improved investment performance and business expansion across the region.
The second thing is focusing on our core, and we will continue with driving efficiencies within the core business. Third pillar is around driving around the high margin products and offerings that we've got.
Asset management emerged as a key growth driver, with profits rising to 992 million shillings, while the life insurance business posted 791 million shillings in pre-tax earnings. The company also reported rising digital uptake, with e-commerce sales increasing to 708 million shillings.
Last year we saved almost 400 million in claims and in fraudulent or abuse claims that were prevented using AI adjudicated claims. I think digital is the answer to grow retail, because a lot of that low penetration level is because of retail.
The company says it is also restructuring parts of its regional operations. During the year, Old Mutual merged its Kenyan life insurance entities and announced plans to exit operations in South Sudan after a run-off period, as it focuses on more sustainable markets. The group did not announce any dividend payment to shareholders. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
The country's competition law framework has long been recognized as one of the more developed in Africa, but a new review by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, says the country must now strengthen enforcement, funding and institutional capacity to match its legal ambitions. Here now is Jasmine Wamboi with that report.
The review finds that while Kenya has built a modern competition framework, enforcement by the Competition Authority remains weak and under-resourced. The authority, which regulates monopolies, mergers and cartel behavior in the corporate sector, is operating with limited funding and staff well below international standards. It also lacks a dedicated economics unit, undermining its ability to handle complex market investigations.
We could do more to resource CAK. Yeah, I think we will do that, and I will give you the support required. Yes. If you need a chief economist, why not?
Over the past 5 years, enforcement activity has been notably low. Most cases are settled out of court, often with minimal penalties and no admission of wrongdoing, raising concerns that companies are not sufficiently deterred from anti-competitive behavior. Fines remain significantly below global benchmarks, and critical tools such as whistleblower and leniency programs have failed to attract any applicants. The OECD also flags governance concerns, including unclear appointment and dismissal rules for top leadership, which could expose the regulator to political influence.
The competition regime in Kenya is a modern competition regime. It has a strong competition law foundation, and the Competition Authority in Kenya has comprehensive powers. But there are elements that can be improved.
While merger control systems are in place, no mergers have been blocked to date. At the same time, Kenya's participation in regional blocs like COMESA and the East African Community is creating overlapping regulatory layers, increasing compliance costs and legal uncertainty for businesses.
Some of the strengths that came out of this review is the fact that we have a robust legal framework. We have a mature and procedural merger control regime. We have intact cooperation between regulators internally and regionally, and the fact that CAK is playing a great role internationally when it comes to competition and consumer matters.
The OECD is now recommending sweeping reforms, including increasing funding, tightening penalties, strengthening independence, and improving transparency to make the system more effective. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
Business News, brought to you by Safaricom Business.
Keep business growing with calling, texting, and SMS. Stay connected with customers and suppliers with Zidisha Plus voice and data. Join Safaricom Business today and power your progress.
All right, it's time to get into the day's sports. My name is Emmanuel Ndungo. Let's begin. The aborted Women's Premier League matches on the 14th and 15th of March will be rescheduled, with no team getting punished for boycotting the matches. The WPL teams made good on their threat to skip the matches in a bid to force a meeting with the FKF president Hussein Mohammed. The only teams that showed up for the matches were Ulinzi Starlets and Kenya Police Bullets, but their opponents were a no-show. The WPL teams met the FKF boss for a session, essentially to clear the air. The main agenda was not tabled, but they all agreed to converge on the 8th of April to discuss the items on the agenda. The WPL matches resume today, with more matches on the 21st and 22nd of March.
For us to be able to compete. Okay, so I'm trying, the first issue you raised is that, the day before the vote has never gotten anything other than 6. And again, for the first time, again, I told you about this.
Shabana FC has fired coach Peter Okidi barely 2 days after losing their second consecutive match in the Kenya Premier League. Okidi is the second coach to be fired in 2 days after Ulinzi Stars also fired Stephen Ochola on Monday after a string of poor results. Another coach under pressure is AFC Leopards' Fred Ambani, who was held hostage by the fans at the Nyayo National Stadium on Sunday following a 4-1 thrashing by Mathare United. The Leopards host Nairobi United tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Nyayo National Stadium in a match they must win to calm their fans. The task will not be easy as key players Elias Mugane, Maxwell Otieno, Casey Odiambo and Emmanuel Luangu are out injured. Ingwe, second on the log on 43 points, are 10 points behind leaders Gor Mahia. They take on 9th place Nairobi United, who have won only 2 of their last 5 league matches. On to golf. Kenya professional golfer Njoroge Kibugu has finally received the 5 million shillings promised by President William Ruto after the conclusion of the DP World Tour Magical Kenya Open last month. Kibugu was the only Kenyan to make the cut at the Karen Golf Club. His reward will serve as motivation to other Kenyan golfers to achieve greater heights in the sport.
Njoroge has attracted a lot of attention internationally, and very soon he will also be joining, the international tournament. So we are here also as a demonstration of the commitment to nurture and inspire talent, not only in golf, but in other sports disciplines.
For the rest of the golfers, juniors, aspiring, and who have a dream to play this professionally, they can now see that if you put time and effort, it can be achieved. So I'd just like to say a big thank you, and also in developing talent in sports within the country. I think you guys are doing a great job.
And back to the Women's Premier League, and Ulinzi Starlets have climbed to the top of the league after beating Zetech Sparks 3-0 at the Ulinzi Sports Complex on Tuesday afternoon. Elizabeth Mideva opened the scoring for the Soldiers with a 35th minute goal after a frustrating opening half. A minute before the break, Mercy Airo scored the second goal before Mideva scored her second to seal the result. Ulinzi climbed to the top of the league on 35 points, 1 point ahead of Kenya Police Bullets, who have a game in hand.
Na kwamba nilifeel ya kwamba hii ligi 2025-2026 itakuwa tough one. Na true to my words, it will be a tough one.
Yes. Game ijakuwa mbaya, but tumepoteza 3 points, so really going back to the drawing board, but wasichana wame try their best. Nitasema the most undoing ni not scoring. Ukiangalia conversion yetu ijakuwa poa.
Let's finish off now. The UEFA Champions League matches resume tonight with 4 matches lined up in the round of 16 return leg. Sporting Lisbon host Bodo Glimt. Chelsea are at home to PSG as Arsenal face Bayer Leverkusen at the Emirates Stadium. Real Madrid will have French forward Kylian Mbappe back as they play away to Manchester City. Mbappe has been out of action since the Spanish league match against Osasuna on February 21st due to a left knee sprain. Mbappe took part in training on the eve of the second leg, as did Jude Bellingham, but the English midfielder will not feature during the encounter as he continues to regain fitness following a hamstring injury sustained at the beginning of last month. Real Madrid head into the match holding a commanding 3-0 lead. Now, the Champions League is ongoing right now. We will have more information on that in the tomorrow and our subsequent bulletins coming up. But now I'd like to throw over to Yvonne Aquara.
All right, so it's time to finish up here. Let me just read one or two last comments on our discussions on the program tonight. This one is from Justin Muturi, the country's former Attorney General. Let me be clear, the sole purpose of this engagement is to secure the safe return of all our citizens. And he, referring to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, must come back accompanied by them, both those who are alive and those who have tragically lost their lives. There can be no other outcome. Every Kenyan's life matters, and the government has an absolute duty to protect its people. Let's read two others here as well. And these are... okay. There we are. We want our government to be more serious about Kenyans going and working outside the country, and especially in the Middle East, mostly about Russia and Saudi Arabia. Other nations are very serious about their citizens, even in negotiations on their salaries and remunerations. Why not our government? Last one, I believe. Yeah, and here it is. Is the CS confirming that Kenyans are on their own? I guess that was that one. And now the final one. Russia is a superpower in military. What reasons does Russia have to recruit people who ordinarily would not fight for their country? Nothing is adding up. So those are your views on that. Thank you very much for watching The Explainer tonight, and always have a good night. I'm Yvonne Okwara. Njoki Shege is our sign language interpreter.